Okie dokie, folks. Today we start a new chapter. We're moving on from the events that led to the revolution, or I'm sorry, the events that led to independence. That was our last chapter. The chapter before that was interrupted by the bell, obviously. The chapter before that was the climate that led to the revolution in terms of things like the Enlightenment, the Great Awakening, and the spirit of rebellion that existed that then led to the responses to those events that led to the concept of we want to be independent. Well, now we're doing a chapter called E Pluribus Unum. And E Pluribus Unum means from many, one. If you look at your money, you'll see that statement's on there. So go ahead and set up your paper and let's get ready to rock and roll this. So how did we come together as one? Remember, in 1754, Ben Franklin wanted to come together as one. He proposed a union of the colonies in the Albany Plan of Union, but the colonies rejected it. They didn't think it was necessary. Now, we're going to see that over the course of this chapter, you're going to learn about the three major intercolonial, almost all 13 colonies go to all of them, meetings that were held. The first one's going to be the Stamp Act Congress. The next one is going to be the First Continental Congress, and then after that, the Second Continental Congress. You will learn more about these as we move along. In addition to meetings being held, intercolonial organizations were formed. One of them is called the Long Room Club. And if you remember, it was the Iroquois who had the long rooms. It's also the Iroquois that have the bicameral house system with the house above it that can veto, kind of like our checks and balances that we've seen between the executive branch and the legislative branch. So we have the Long Room Club. Significant members of the Long Room Club are James Otis, Sam Adams, John Hancock, and Paul Revere. There are others, but those are the most important ones that we know of. These in the group they got this group together to react to the British actions, the things the British are doing that are upsetting to the colonists. Furthermore, we have another two organizations, but they're kind of together as one, that form the Sons and Daughters of Liberty. They're two very effective groups. The men's group was a radical group given to violence. Okay, they went so far as violence, and you'll learn more about that. And the women's group enforced the boycotts. They made cloth, and some you'll find even served in the colonial military. More about that later. So in addition to meetings and setting up organizations, great literature is written in response to what Great Britain, the Parliament, the government in England, is doing to the British colonial people, those people who are going to become the patriots, those people who are going to become Americans. And so we have letters like the Virginia Resolves written by Patrick Henry. We have the circular letter written by John Dickinson. It's another circular letter. We know circular letter. We know Samuel Adams wrote one. Well, now we've got one by John Dickinson, so we'll look a little bit more into those. And then we have the bell ringing again. One of the most famous pamphlets on freedom ever written, Common Sense by Thomas Paine, who was not an American, by the way, but who inspired Americans that we needed to break and become independent. And of course, the most famous message written to King George III ever was called the Declaration of Independence. We can think of that as a breakup letter. We're breaking up with you, and these are the reasons why. We'll go into that one a little more. In fact, we'll go into the Declaration of Independence in depth. We're going to chunk that one out. But anyway, it was written by the Committee of Five. The most famous and most significant writer that we know is Thomas Jefferson, but he had people who were revisers and editors and group members who helped him to write this document. Those were John Adams of Massachusetts. Notice that they're from different colonies. Jefferson's from Virginia, Adams is from Massachusetts, Ben Franklin is from Pennsylvania, and Robert Livingston is from New York, as well as we have Roger Sherman from Connecticut. So, E Pluribus Unum. we become, out of many colonies, quote unquote, many being 13, we're going to become one nation. And then we'll add states to us as we go. You'll learn more about that in the future. So we held meetings, formed organizations, and wrote and shared literature to come together. And of course, this helped us to fight together, which is coming. What you see in the picture there is the artist John Trumbull's Declaration of Independence to memorialize the individuals who were engaged in the process of declaring independence rather than an actual event, because not all of them were actually present at the reporting of the Declaration on the 28th of June in 1776, and nor were they all there at its adoption on July 4th, but all of them were involved in writing and signing it. So we will get back together again tomorrow, at least virtually. I missed you all, and you know what to do.